Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 61 of our Supersize Your Business Annual Challenge. Today and all this month, we're talking about money. It's Financial Health and Wellbeing Month. And today's topic is the age-old business topic for all of us and everyone, everywhere, income and expenses. And really, it's not how much either of those are, it's what's the gap between the two. If we have more expenses than income, we're not making so much money. If we have more income, usually I like to go for exponentially more income than expenses in any given business, then we are flush with cash. We usually have good cash flow as well, and the business runs really smoothly. Opportunities come up and we can take advantage of them. If we're on the other end of that spectrum, not so often. And I'll tell you, I've been in both scenarios in many of my businesses, right? And it's the figuring out how do we find the sweet spot between the two that helps us to supersize and grow our business. We're going to talk about that today and beyond. So I'm going to challenge you to look at the last 3 months of your income and expenses, your net income sheets. What is it looking like? And many of us are in, I have some businesses that are totally cyclical, and so they only run for a month or two of the year. Other businesses are seasonal, and so they'll have better months sometimes and the others. But we need to know all of that so we take into consideration what is the level of expenses our business can manage at the lowest time of year for us, etc., things like that. And that's part of why we look at this. And I will admit, I have people that I hire to do this for me, and I have not been paying super close attention in a couple of areas, in a couple of different businesses that I'm involved in. And I will do this right along with you today. I will get the documents and the financials, and they're all online now, so I just have to ask somebody to send me a link, and I will go in and I will look at those and comb through those. And we're looking for, number one, what is the gap? Number two, we always want to be continually improving, right? So if there are things that we're no longer needing or we're no longer benefiting our organization, why would we not let those go? A lot of us have, I grew up in the food industry. Well, I was in the food industry for 35 years, so I share a lot of examples from that. In Italian food manufacturing, we had pest control. We had all these different things that were part of doing business, and cleaning and uniforms and all these things, and laundry fees and stuff like that. But as we changed the business and things changed, we didn't need to hang on to all those things and do all those things. So every year, at least annually, we would go in and have a leadership team meeting and analyze and look at what are the different expenses that we have as part of the budgeting process. Yes. What are our expected sources of income? And if there was a mismatch, if there was a gap in a negative way, things had to change at the planning stage, not at the, oh my God, we're overdrawn stage, right? Anybody ever been overdrawn? Yeah. It's a horrible feeling when there's other people depending on you and when it's your business. So part of why we do this work and why we're looking at this is we want to make sure that we are putting processes and systems and things in place so that we never have to feel that feeling, because it really sucks. I don't think I ever missed payroll ever in any of my businesses. I know I didn't. I never did. But there were some times when I had to go borrow money from somebody else and from something else in order to pay payroll. And those are not good feelings either, right? And so we want to make sure that we are set up that we never experience that in our business. Why? Because we're here to create and be abundant. We're not here to create businesses that are based on lack and scarcity and competition and all the things that we think are out there that are preventing us from getting what we want. Really, the only thing that's preventing us from getting what we want is usually right inside here, or mostly in here. So we're going to look at the last 3 months of our business's actual income and expenses. And we're just going to look at it. And if you're in great shape, great. Just put in the comments below, great shape. And then we all know that you've done the work, you've looked at these things, and at least for the last 3 months, you are golden. That's what we want. I would love everybody that to be your answer. But I'm going to tell you, if you're being super honest, it's probably not everybody's answer. I suspect that it's not my answer in a couple of businesses. And so I want to make sure that I go back and I check that and that we address it now before it becomes a bigger problem or a challenge that we're not quite sure how to handle. We're going to calculate our profit margin on whatever it is that you do or sell or provide to people. And this will lead us down the road to looking at our offers, our mix of product and pricing and all those things. But for today, income and expenses is our only focus. And it shouldn't take you a ton of time to do this. And if you just did it at the close of last year or early this year, then you are in much better position to knock this out really, really quickly. And just share done in the comments below. I will challenge you, though, to look at all of the information that's available to you from an income and expense standpoint and find one expense that you just don't need. I tell you, we have redundancies and duplication of effort in so many areas in our business, and we just don't see it. One that we found was just recently, we were paying for a subscription for a software by each different division in the organization separately, which was way more expensive than if we had just gotten an enterprise subscription. And so we made that change and saved literally thousands and thousands of dollars for our business. So there's things like that hiding in plain sight, but nobody thinks they're responsible or it's their job to look at them. So nobody says anything. And when nobody says anything, if there isn't someone else overseeing it, which, that's what we have CFOs and CEOs for in our organizations, hint, hint. But they are human too, right? I'll tell you what, I overlook and miss things. We all do because we're human. Or we have something and we have a belief attached to it that we've got to have that, got to have that. And the truth is we absolutely positively don't. I find that's true of a lot of types of insurance. Now, I am a huge believer in certain types of insurance and other types of insurance, complete and utter bullshit. Just my opinion, right? I always kind of look at insurance as legalized gambling because the company is betting that you won't need it and you're betting that you probably will. Talk about having your thought processes and your mindsets backwards, right? All right, I digress. So where are you leaking money, if anywhere? If nowhere, just say nowhere, because that will encourage us to know that sometimes we think, oh, this is how all businesses run. This is how everybody does it. This is just how our industry is. And guess what? That is never, ever true. You can always be the shining star in your industry if you choose to. But that begins by looking at things differently than everybody else is. All right. That's all I've got today. If you have any questions about this, if you need any help, if you've never looked at your financial statements before, if you don't even have financial statements or you're not documenting, put that in the comments below too, because we want to make sure you get a system that works for you. And I know some amazing people. This is one of those areas that's super detailed. And for me, I needed to find ways to outsource it, but I wasn't just going to give it control of it to just anybody. I did a whole interview process the first time I outsourced my accounting for my Italian food manufacturing business. And I kept the same accountant for all 35 years. Why? Because I interviewed and I picked the best one for me and for our organization. And I revisited it every single year with that organization to make sure that they were still indeed the best service provider for that particular business. We do that with all our businesses. We should do that with all the things that are critical, especially anything that has ties to your financial health and well-being. All right. And that's one area I think no matter where you are in the organization, you ought to have a pulse on how that impacts you and your division, your department, your job, your role, your responsibilities, or you might not even have a role there. If somebody isn't paying attention to it, the company may not last. I hate to say that, but we've seen it time and time again. All right. Have an awesome day. Hit me up, reach out if I can help you, or if you've got a question, because if you've got a question, I guarantee somebody else is thinking the same thing. All right. Be with you tomorrow.